Welcome everybody back to Coffee and Kabbalah after a long break. I missed everyone so much. Thank you for joining, and thank you, Gazelle. I blinked out for sponsoring the shiur. Really appreciate it. Today's class is going to be on the Parshat Emor and Sefirat Haomer as well, and maybe a little bit about Iyar and Taurus, or we'll do that in a separate class. So this week's Parsha is Parshat Emor. We're getting to the end of Vayikra. We have Emor. We had last week Kedoshim, Emor, and then we have Bahar Bechukotai, and then we're ready on to Bamidbar. Emor. So a brief summary of the Parsha. The word Emor means to speak. What is in the first source in your source sheets? We have the second source. It says Vayomer Hashem al Moshe. Hashem said to Moshe, Emor, say to the Kohanim, Bnei Aaron, the sons of Aaron, V'amarta aleihem, and then it repeats again, and you should say to them, L'nefesh lo yitama be'amav, no one should become tamei from a dead person amongst any of the Kohanim. So then there's a lot of laws of the Kohanim. No, but we could share with Tova. I didn't expect so many people. So the laws after this are the laws of when and a Kohen could become Tamei Mace for, who he can come in contact with the dead body for, which relatives he can or cannot come in contact with his dead body. That is the laws. Then there's the laws, there's a little laws about animals and humanity, with animal humanity, and when you can sacrifice an animal and not to sacrifice or kill a mother and her child on the same day. And then the end of the parsha, the bulk of it speaks about the Moadim, all of the Chagim. It goes through all of the Chagim again, the different festivals on the calendar, including the mitzvah of Sefirat Haomer. So Emor is always read during Sefirat Haomer, and it includes the mitzvah of counting of the Omer. It doesn't say, it doesn't call it like the Sefirat Haomer. It doesn't even call it Shavuos. It says that on the second day of Pesach, you bring a karban called the karban Haomer. It is the barley offering. And then from there it says to count 49 days, to verbally count 49 days until the festival on the 50th day, a remembrance of the shofar, a festival of Shavuot on the 14th day, on the 49th day. What's interesting about the Omer offering is that if you ever see on products in Israel, Chadash and Yashan, what it means is that they weren't allowed to eat, or still, the new produce of that year, anything that grew that year from the Tu B'Shvat of that year, you're not allowed to eat until the Omer offering was brought in the Beis HaMikdash on the second day of Pesach, and then it was called, that's what Chadash and Yashan is calling, whether it's new grain and whether it's old grain and whether you can eat it. So if it's Yashan, it means it's from the last year, you could still eat it, and if it's Chadash, you can eat it only after the bringing of the Omer. So that's just an interesting law that I did not know about until teaching these classes. Okay, so that is the bulk of the Parsha. The Parsha ends with concludes with a story about the Mikalel, the man who was executed for cursing, for blasphemy, for cursing out God, and then that's how it ends. Okay, so it's a very interesting Parsha. Again, Vayikra is a lot of laws, Torah's Kohanim, a lot of laws, especially about the Kohanim. Now we're going to focus on a few things. First of all, the name of the Parsha. Emor means to speak. Now, the question is asked, Rashi asks the question, the doubling of the word Emor. It says Emor, and then it says Ve'amarta. So why does it repeat Emor Ve'amarta? So Rashi brings down from Masechet Yevamos in the Gemara, what the Chachamim say. They say, what? Emor Ve'amarta? Lahaz here Gedolim al Ketanim. It's saying it double to say that you should tell the older ones to repeat to the younger ones, to teach the children, to be mechanech them. So this is the mitzvah of chinuch. It says the double lashon is a mitzvah of chinuch, which means educating our young. But the question is, we already have the mitzvah of chinuch in the Torah in a couple of places. It's beginning with Avraham Avinu, where Hashem says, I know in Bereshit Yud Ches, chapter 18, Hashem says to Avraham, I know you already educated your sons in the ways of Emunah. So we already have the mitzvah of education. So what novel, what is the Torah telling us new over here about education, about lahazir gdolim al ketanim, if we already have higadat lebincha bayomahu, so many places in the Torah. So it brings down that it brings down that look at the words that it says. It says lahaz here gdolim al ketanim. Now the practical meaning of, what's the word I'm missing in English? The literal meaning of the word lahaz here is to warn. To warn, lahaz hara is a warning. But the deeper meaning of lahaz here is that it shares a root word with the same shoresh as zohar, which means to shine, lahaz here. So what it really means in a deeper level is that we already have the mitzvah of chinuch. This is teaching us a higher level of education, that it's not enough to teach our children right from wrong and to teach them about what's the good things and bad things in the world. We also have to educate them to be a shining human being, to exude light, to emanate light wherever they go, to emanate kindness and light. And that's what it means, lahaz yigdol ketanim. The repetition mission is to teach the elders, the adults, to help their children become a shining human being with good midos. And this is not done a mensch, to be a mensch and to be a shining person, that you see them and they bring light and kindness wherever they go. And this is not something that you could teach through educating. This is something that can only done by you being an example, by them seeing you and growing up with somebody who exudes kindness and exudes love and always chooses chesed and is a mensch and treats people kindly and it puts a smile on their face and brings warmth and educates with love. Then they learn from you to be a shining example. So that's the specific, unique mitzvah of Emor. The whole parsha being called Emor, to speak. We see this thread of speaking of Emor throughout the parsha, especially at the end of the parsha, where we have the person who used his speech for the negativity, the makala, the blasphemer, the person who cursed out God, which shows the effect of the dangers of speech. Now, we're not going to focus so much on speech because we have other parshas where we spoke about lashon hara and how our speech. But one thing we always mention is that just like when God created the world through speech, and we are created in God's image, when we speak, we have the power to create. And so in education, we learn that our words are our most creative power, and that for the negative, we learn from them that somebody who speaks bad about another person kills all three people, because even the person who was spoken about did nothing wrong, but just by speaking about that person, you can draw out negative traits. Or the blasphemer, we see the negativity of the power of speech, and it's just a word, but our speech held so much weight, and our speech can create positive feelings or negative feelings in a person. And in education, we learn that our words hold so much weight. A child could forever feel like he'll never mount anything from someone who told him he's nothing and he's not good, or he can feel like he can be anything he wants to be in the world, and he is, the greatest artist. And it takes one word of an adult to say to a child, you're such an artist, and then for their whole life they feel like I'm empowered. And so lahazir means to reveal that everyone's to. We'll get to it. We'll get layers deeper as well. We learned that there's two ways to educate a child, to teach a child how to be a good person. One is to reject and to condemn their negative behavior and say, you don't do that, that's really bad, that's not a nice thing to do. Or to emphasize how great they are and how they're so much greater than doing that, and to emphasize the goodness of doing the other side, and to show them how beautiful it would be to act differently, and to say what a good child they are and what a light they are, and to reveal that goodness inside of them. And we can always choose one or the other. And here it's saying to choose to light them up by focusing only on the positive qualities. In fact, the Rambam says in the mitzvah of Emor that the Chachamim, Talmid Chachamim, have he speaks a lot about Talmid Chachamim having to speak positive qualities about their colleagues even when they don't agree with them. And this also ties in, so there's a few connections now of Emor to Sefirat Haomer. One, we said that it mentions Sefirat Haomer in the Parsha, and the next one is that in Sefirat Haomer, what we're mourning, we have all the laws of mourning now, not listening to music, not cutting our hair, not getting married. The laws of mourning are to commemorate the passing of Rabbi Akiva's 24,000 students, who it's brought down clearly in the Gemara that they passed away because they didn't have respect for one another. And the way they spoke, and you don't have to, we learned from Emor, from speech, is that you don't have to agree with everything someone says. And the students, they loved one another so much, but when they disagreed with their opinion, they would try and they would yell at them or speak to them harshly and to convince them or rebuke them for their opinion. And we learned that we don't have to agree with everything. Somebody might even say something that's against everything that you believe in, but we still have to speak to that person with respect and treat that person with respect.
What do the women have to do with it?
What?
What do the women have to do with it? You said, I thought you could repair things with women, no? Okay.
What does the women have to do with it? Maybe. I'm sure there's a woman connection. But we're commemorating. So the tikkun of the mistake of the Rabbi Akiva students is that even if you disagree with somebody, we still have to use the power of our speech to speak with to everybody with respect, to treat them with respect. Right? And we see the opposite and the breakdown happening in campuses across the world or all over America, where people might. What happened today?
The Columbia president gave I saw the video today. It was probably this week. His speech at the graduation.
And he spoke about
a big professor, and his whole point was just listen to other people's opinions.
Yeah.
Too.
You don't even have to agree with. Someone might have the worst opinion, but we don't have to. We still have to respect them. We still have to treat them with respect and speak to them with respect. And if everyone followed that golden rule, we wouldn't be where we are today. People can have one opinion, you can have your other opinion, and you respect one another as a human being, and we don't take away their basic rights of existing. So that's what lahaz here gdolim al ktanim, to teach the older ones to make the younger ones shine. Now we have another connection to the word shining. So al-hazir, we said Zohar. To the word Zohar, by the way, the Zohar was revealed on Lag BaOmer. So we're celebrating just a little ER thing. Is that ER throughout ER, the entire theme of the month of Iyar, the energy, astrological and spiritual Kabbalistic energies through this month are shining light. The word Iyar actually comes from the Akkadian word aurora or aura or light. In Hebrew, Iyar, before it was named, that was called Ziv, the month of Ziv, and Ziv literally means a shining light or a ray of light. And in Iyar, the only Chag that we really have is Lag BaOmer, where we celebrate the Zohar, which is also means light, and we celebrate it by lighting bonfires of light. And the Zohar was the revelation, Lahazir, we said the shining light was the revelation of the light. When Hashem created the world, the Gemara says that he had a light, he created a light, and that allowed a person to see from one end of the world to the other end of the world, and he hid it. And that light was the light of the deeper secrets of the Torah that was began to be revealed by the Rashabi on his day of passing on Lag BaOmer and Yud Ches Iyar with the light of the Zohar. So we have this great revelation of light throughout Iyar. It's also, the sun is very strong in Iyar. We have physical light. And also the planet, we don't usually talk about which planet rules, but the planet Hashem placed in the sky to rule in the month of Iyar is Venus. And anyone know what Venus is in Hebrew? I just learned this. It's Noga, which Noga also means a shining light, a light. So anyone who's named Noga or Ziv, all these words mean light. So throughout Iyar, we have this idea of light and the Zohar. So going back to Sefirat Omer, the other place we have the word lighting is Sefirat Omer. What does the word Sefirat Omer mean? Counting of the Omer. The Omer, we said again, is the barley offering that was brought on the second day of Pesach, the Omer offering. So the counting of the Omer. Now the word Sefirah also shares the same word as Sapir. And Sapir also means a shining light. It's the stone that was placed on top of the ark, the teva, to bring light to the entire teva, to illuminate the teva. So Sapira, we learn that counting the Omer when we count the days of the Omer, we're also enlightening the days of the Omer. We're also illuminating those days. Each day that we count, we're illuminating it. First of all, by counting every single day and being intentional about every day. And like Rabbi Trugman says, each day is a vessel. Time is a vessel waiting to be filled. How will you fill it? I just love that line, because it's really about illuminating each day. When you count each day and you make it valuable, you, instead of just allowing the day to control you, or for me, like technology or my distractions to control me, I'm saying I want to illuminate this day. I want to be intentional every day about how I spend my day. So that's one way that we light up our days. And even more than that, when we count, we have the custom of also counting the Sefirot, which is again the same word as Sefirah. So we have Sefirat Omer is count, means sport, to count. It also means Sapir, to light them up. And we have the Sefiras that we count. The 10 Sefiras are the shining lights that Hashem put into our world, and that He emanates His light through these lights, through these 10 Sefiros. And we, 7 of those spheres are emotions inside of us that we illuminate each day of the Omer. And does everyone have this custom? When you say the first day of the Omer, you say, today is Shech Chesed Sheb Chesed. Today I'm illuminating the Chesed of my Chesed. So the whole first week of the Omer, we illuminate the Sefira of Chesed, which is our attribute of kindness. The second, and then within that, we illuminate the kindness. And then second day we count Gevurah. Well, today I'm doing Gevurah Sheb Chesed. The respect within my kindness, right? That balance of I love you so much, but I also need to have respect for you, even if I disagree with you. You don't have to always agree with me. The next week we count Gevurah, which is boundaries and respect, and we work on that midah in our soul. The third week we work on Tiferet, and Tiferet is that balance and the harmony and the compassion and the empathy in our soul. The fourth week we're Netzach this week. We just started Netzach. The fourth week we're working on Netzach. Netzach is our endurance, our ambition, our perseverance towards our goals. The fifth week we work on Hod. Hod is humility, devotion, gratitude. And that's on the left side. I'm doing like this because it's Chesed, then Gevurah, then Tiferet in the middle, then Netzach on the right, then Hod on the left, and then Yesod, which is our attachment, our connection, and our foundation. The foundation, being connected, being present, and which is like something we all need to work on, being present in everything that we're doing. And then Malchus, which is regality, glory, and action, and like our midos and the actual things that we do in our speech. And it's much more nuanced than that. And so what we're doing is that we're lighting up every day of the Sefirat Omer. Aside from counting the days and illuminating the days, we're also lighting up the Sefirot in our soul, and we're illuminating our neshama, and we're illuminating ourselves, hopefully, to be an example. And this is really like in Judaism, especially we're always focused, especially in Chassidut, like about the action is the most important thing, right? Like you don't have to feel like you have to be an amazing person. It's about like being a Benoni, and Tanya is about like, even if inside you have all these struggles, you feel like doing the worst things in the world, at the end of the day, it's what you do on the outside that counts. It's your actions that matter. Sefirat Omer is really like the only time one of the only times in the Jewish calendar that we're really focusing on our internal experience, on our midos, not just on our actions, but we're trying to refine our midos, we're trying to refine our soul. So that's another connection to shining the Zohar, the Sefirat Haomer. Now, what are we counting? What's this whole idea, the deeper meaning of counting Omer? So there's the most beautiful teachings is a teaching of the Lubavitcher Rebbe, where he brings the pasuk from Shir Shirim. I brought this for you in your source. Shir Shirim, it's the fourth source. It's the Shir Shirim, Perek Aleph, the first chapter, the fourth verse of the entire Shir Shirim written by Shlomo Melech, the love poem of Shir Melech. He says, Mashcheni acharecha narutza havieni melech hadarav. Pull me, you have the English? Draw me after you. Mashchene means draw me after you. Acharecha narutza, after you, let us run. Havieni melech hadarav, the king will bring me, O king, to your innermost chambers. And then he continues, Nagila v'nismechabach v'naskir chadodecha miyain meshar mavecha, let us delight and rejoice in your love, savoring it more than yain. Now the first three parts of the verse, the Chassidut tells us are allusion, or all of Shlomo Melech's words are deep allusions to the Mishkan, different things, are alluding to the three parts of the redemption of leaving Mitzrayim and receiving the Torah. He says Mashcheni represents that stage of leaving Egypt, when we were bereft of any attributes, of any milos, any zchuyot. We had nothing, and Hashem had to pull us out, literally schlep us out of Mitzrayim. That's what it means, you pull me, you schlepped me out. So Mashcheni is referring to Hashem schlepping us out of Mitzrayim. Acharecha narutza refers to us, the Sefirat Haomer, us chasing after Hashem, let us run after you, God. And I'll explain why. And then Havieni melech hadarav, Hashem bringing us into our innermost chamber, is that union and that oneness that happens at Matan Torah when we wed Hashem in that intimate moment with God. Now, going back to the part of Sefirat Haomer, what is Acharecha Narutza? What does that mean? We'll run after you, Hashem. What does it have to do with Sefirat Haomer? So, a few things. We learned that, first of all, we have to. When we were taken out of Mitzrayim, we were full of tumah, and it wasn't fitting. So really, the question is, why didn't we just leave Mitzrayim? And 7 days later, we should have received the Torah and married Hashem, because the whole purpose of leaving Mitzrayim was only to receive the Torah and to be Hashem's nation. And so this long gap in between, what was that for? So there's a few different reasons. I'll share with you a couple of them. One of them was that, the main one is that we weren't ready to marry Hashem. We were completely tameh. It wasn't fitting for us in our lowest rates of tumah to then marry God. So Hashem gave us 7 weeks to work on ourselves, work 49 days to work on our 7 midos, to climb out of that lowest level of tumah, to become worthy of being one with Hashem, right? When I teach like marriage classes or to single girls, I tell them, if you're a broken person looking for someone to fill you in a marriage, that's not going to be a successful marriage. You're not looking to be a half a person and say, I need someone to complete me. You want to work on yourself to be your wholest, most full self, to marry somebody and say, I'm not looking for someone to fill me, but rather I am so full, and I'm so full of love, and I'm spilling over with so much, my cup runneth over, right? And that I need to share. I'm looking for someone to share all that life with. I have such a full life. I want someone to share that with. That's a marriage that has a very strong successful chance, when you're looking to share with somebody, not for someone to complete you. Anyway, that was a tangent. The idea was that we're not looking to be a broken person in a marriage with Hashem. That wouldn't work out. We have these 49 days of refinement, mamash, of Sefirat, of lighting up our neshama. So then we come to Matan Torah, and then it's a two-way relationship, right? It's we said like we were like nothing by matzah. We can't be a relationship with Hashem. We said like by matzah and your bittul, there's no me. We want to figure out myself, my worth, my who I am, and develop yourself so that there's a me to be in the marriage. That's for another. Okay.
What
So
about your bad thoughts?
your bad thoughts? What do you mean?
You just say goodbye?
No, we'll get to that in a moment. Okay, so the next thing about Macharecha Narutza is that we go from singular to plural. Mashcheni means you draw me, and then we skip to right afterwards saying Acharecha Narutza, we will run after, let us run after you. What's like a minute ago I was single, you were drawing me out, and now I'm switching to plural. Acharecha narutza, it says if it would be single, it would say acharecha arutz, I will run. And narutza is a plural term. So what is the switch to the plural term? So Chassidut teaches us who is the two people that's running after. It's not the nation, because as a nation, we just learned by Matan Torah, we're one unit. We came as one person. V'yichan Sham Yisrael, right? It's in singular form as a nation. So what is the plural? The plural, can anyone guess? Is like what Brian has said, is referring to the two souls that we have. That we're not just chasing after God with our godly soul, with our nefesh elokit. The premise of Tanya, when you come to the Tanya class, we'll learn is that it's really vital to all our avodas Hashem to know that we have two souls inside of us. And when the souls that are chasing after God, that we're looking to grow and work on, is not just our godly soul, but our animal soul. In fact, our godly soul is perfect. Really, it's both of our souls. Like we say in Shema, we say b'chol levavcha. Ubechol nafshecha. And right there, the comment says, why tu ves, not bechol libcha, why levavecha? Because we have two souls. So the two of us, me and my animal soul and my godly soul. Or for me, it's my animal soul and my godly soul, because I probably identify more with my animal human self. So we will chase after Hashem, and that's that process of, yes, of course we know that we're human and that we have bad thoughts and we're not perfect, and that's who Hashem wants to be in a relationship with, the flawed human self, right? And when Hashem's not looking for perfection, just for us to bring ourselves to the table, to be involved, and to be an active participant in this relationship with Hashem. In fact, one more allusion to this idea of the animal soul is that every other korban of every other act of sacrifice in the entire Torah is brought with wheat, and the Omer offering, which commemorates Sefirat to Omer, is the only one that's brought with barley. Now, what's the significance of this? If you came to the Shivat Aminim class, we learned that barley represents our animal soul, because barley is animal fodder, wheat is considered human fodder, human food, and barley is animal food. And even brought down in the sota that the only other korban brought with barley was the sota, the woman who was accused of cheating on her husband. When she brought the korban, she brought it with barley, and the Gemara there says that she acted like animal, so she brings the food of an animal. And so here in the Omer, we bring the korban of an animal to specifically show that we're working here on our animal soul, on our animalistic self, which is a part of us, which God made part of us. We don't have to eradicate it. We're probably never going to eradicate it, but we want to refine our animal soul. So we have a tame, sweet, gentle animal that goes along with the godly soul, and that's less resistant as much as possible. We're not trying to say, to get rid of our animal soul, because that's our identity, but we're trying as much to, I guess, not to tame it, but to channel that power of our animal soul towards holy things, towards good things. We'll speak more of that in the coming weeks. So that's what we will run in plural is two souls and the korban omer, the animal food. One more beautiful illusion of the 7-week separation is a beautiful teaching that the Zohar brings down, that why we have 7 weeks of counting between leaving Mitzrayim. It only took 7 days to get the Torah, because just like a nida, a woman who is nida, when she's tameh, she separates from her husband for 7 days and then reunites with him. Also us, we were tameh and we are coming to marry Hashem. So we have 7, because we're on a national level, we have 7 times 7 weeks of nida, of separation to marry Hashem. Now this might seem like a negative time, like separating from God, but in fact we learned that the separation of nida is not a separation at all for this point of being distant. The whole point of nida is the separation that causes more closeness, because you might live with somebody that you love to death, but the togetherness, when you're always together, you sometimes forget that passion. We forget how much you love each other. And when you have a moment of separation, if you're on vacation, or if you go away, if you go to work, that prolonged separation actually strengthens the togetherness, the reunion afterwards, right? Like that's why airports, you see, like there's so much love and togetherness in an airport, because either someone is leaving or coming back. The short separation reminds you about how strong your togetherness is in a good relationship. So that's why the deeper purpose of the separation. So it's a separation in order to strengthen the togetherness that you really have, to uncover that deep togetherness. And that's what that 7-week separation was we were tameh, and we had these 7 weeks of spiritual refinement of this nida cleansing period, so that we can truly feel how much we need to be with Hashem, to feel that togetherness, so that the reunion and that oneness afterwards in Matan Torah is tremendous. So that's just a little bit of Sefirat Omer. And another thing about manifesting is that, so that was Mashcheni Acharecha. And the third stage of Havieni Melech Hadarav is Hashem brings me as a unit into his innermost chamber, with that ultimate oneness that Hashem had with us in that moment of Matan Torah, where he revealed himself to us, where he brought us to him. But now we're able to be in a true relationship with Hashem, not just Hashem schlepping us out. Now that we've worked on ourselves, we can now be in a real relationship with God that requires two people who are present and not just and available. Another thing that we learn is that just like through speech, we manifest and we bring out positive qualities. Like when we speak positively about a child and we speak about their beautiful qualities to them, and we tell them what a beautiful soul they have, and we can draw that out in them. In Sefirat Omer, one of the mitzvahs is not just to think the days of the Omer, we actually have to verbally count out loud the Omer days. And that is because we learned that Emor, the power of speech, that just by counting the days out loud and having kavana, most of the mitzvahs in the Torah, you're yotzeh, you fulfilled your obligation if you didn't have the intention, if you just did it. But Sefirat Omer is one of the very few mitzvahs that you only fulfill your obligation, like tefillin, that if you have the intention. So when you're intentional, just by counting the Omer, because some people say like, is it attainable to really elevate our whole soul in 49 days? In small ways, yes, we do elevate them by being present, by being mindful, and especially by verbalizing it. So by verbally saying, today I am elevating the part of my soul, or whatever. Does anyone know what today's Sefirat is? Thank you. Oh, it's a beautiful one.
Did she say 13?
It's Chesed Shebenetzach, which is a beautiful one. It's the kindness in your endurance. So it's having like enduring kindness. So the main thing is your netzach, your endurance, your perseverance, your ambition, being successful, being goal-driven, and like and bringing out that part of you. And the kindness in that, I guess, would either be like having an endurance towards kindness, like, you know, having goals and ambition towards being a kinder person, to speaking more kindly, to being kinder to yourself, or it's being, let's say you're ambitious towards your goals of like, you know, whatever it is for yourself, doing it with kindness to yourself, doing it with love, or for other people. If you want your children to be successful, it's making sure that you bring that out through kindness. So whatever that is, let's say we're saying it, even if we're not even, right? So we think today is Chesed Shebenetzach, whatever that means, I am having the kavanah that I am illuminating that part of my soul. And just by saying these words, we learn that by speaking the Sefirat Haomer, even if you didn't miss the bracha and you can't make a bracha, just by speaking it every single day, you're literally lighting up that part of your soul. Yeah. I love this idea about respecting another person, even though you may disagree with them. It says, you may not be in my image, but you are still in Hashem's image. I might not be in your image, but I am still in Hashem's image. And that reminds us that, yes, you might be wrong, I might hate everything you're saying, but you're still created in God's image, and I have to treat you with that respect, every human being. So that's a bit on the Omer and the Chinuch, just a little bit of flavors on the pasuk on this parsha. So I'll end off here with a blessing, and if we have time, I'll send you another short one idea on the Taurus, or I'll link it if you can't stay, for the 3 levels of 3 different types of marriages based on that pasuk Mashcheni Achrecha Nerutza Aveni Melchad Harav, and the 3 stages of development. So thank you so much for joining. I bless all of us to be shining lights and to experience light and to exude light in our lives and have only kindness and goodness and chesed from Hashem, and that we experience this Sefirat Haomer in the Beit HaMikdash. Thank you so much for joining.
Amen.